8 years after changing history, Christopher Columbus finds himself shackled, crossing the Atlantic as a prisoner. The same ocean that once carried him home as a hero now drags him in chains. He had set sail with the wrong distances, a flawed destination, and a map that misinterpreted the world. Yet, that very mistake did not destroy him. Instead, it made him immortal. How could one man be wrong about to grasp how Columbus ended up on this humiliating voyage? We must revisit the very idea that propelled him. His proposal was not dismissed because Europe believed the earth was flat. Educated scholars already recognized its roundness. The true concern was distance. Columbus believed Asia lay much closer to Europe than it truly did, underestimating the planet's vastness and imagining Asia extending far toward Spain. The experts doubting him were closer to the truth. Portugal rejected his plan, and other courts showed little interest. With every rejection, however, Columbus grew more resolute. This was no longer just a sea route. When Ferdinand and Isabella finally backed him, Columbus was not merely receiving ships. He was granted a singular chance to validate the map in his mind. That moment became reality in August 1492, when 3 ships, Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria, set sail from Spain, heading toward the open Atlantic. Initially, the coastline lingered behind them like a promise of safety. Then it vanished. Columbus studied the wind, the currents, and the flight of birds, searching for signs of land. Each sign could mean they were close, while each empty horizon made his promise harder to defend. The ships were fragile, their supplies dwindling, and home receded further with every passing mile. Columbus couldn't allow uncertainty to flicker across his face. The men followed not a proven route, but his unwavering confidence. If that confidence faltered, he envisioned islands and ports beyond the horizon, while the sailors saw only endless water. Somewhere ahead, he believed, Asia awaited. Yet, with every sunrise, one question loomed larger. How long could faith guide them when the ocean offered no evidence? The question was no longer whispered. It echoed across the deck. Some began measuring the distance behind them more carefully than that ahead. Home had faded from view, yet fear felt more tangible than the land Columbus promised. Each night, the ships creaked beneath a dark, unfamiliar sky, with the ocean swirling around them like a living entity, pulling them deeper into a world none could fathom. A sailor could turn in every direction and find nothing proving another shore. Columbus recognized the truth. The men were not merely afraid of death. They feared that they had trusted the wrong man. He could offer signs and calculations, but confidence alone could not turn the vast expanse of water into land. Every dawn forced him to confront the same horizon, defending a future he alone claimed to see. Perhaps in his quietest moments, doubt reached him too. If the crew sensed uncertainty in him, the voyage might falter before it truly began. So, Columbus spoke as if land was not just possible, but near. One more day, one more night, one more horizon. As the days dragged on, the sailors grew impatient. They sought proof, not promises. Columbus faced a fear deeper than the ocean itself. If land did not manifest, the voyage could end in death. Turning back would mean surrender, while continuing risked everyone aboard. He scrutinized each bird, branch, and floating patch of grass for meaning, deriving hope from whatever the sea offered. Then the signs became undeniable: carved wood, leaves, and traces of human presence on the night of October 11. Darkness enveloped the ships when a voice erupted from the Pinta. Land, that single word. On October 12, 1492, the men beheld a shoreline. They had not vanished into the Atlantic. They would live long enough to stand on solid ground again. For Columbus, the moment held weight beyond mere survival. It seemed to validate every rejection he had faced and every promise he had made. He believed he had reached islands near Asia. The people he encountered were the Taino, part of established community. This world was foreign to Columbus, but it was not empty, nor was it waiting to be discovered. Yet, he interpreted what he witnessed through the lens of his dream. The shore appeared to confirm his calculations had succeeded, but it proved the opposite. The land did not vindicate Columbus. It protected him from realizing how wrong he truly was. Asia remained far beyond the ocean, and without the Americas in between, his ships might have lacked. His achievement was genuine, yet it was not the one he had anticipated. Columbus became renowned because the world housed something his map did not. His greatest triumph also marked the moment reality quietly shielded him from the full cost of his miscalculations. However, the shore that saved Columbus also became the site where two worlds. His crew encountered unfamiliar faces, customs, and landscapes. The Taino saw strangers arriving in wooden vessels from beyond the horizon. Gifts were exchanged, gestures replaced language, and curiosity thrived on both sides. But assumptions remained unseen. Columbus perceived generosity, potential alliances, and signs of gold, as well as evidence to take take back to Spain. Unbeknownst to either party, one of history's most significant encounters had commenced. The future was already advancing toward them, though no one on that beach could foresee it. No one could imagine the fleets that would follow, the colonies that would rise, the communities that would suffer, or the diseases that would cross the ocean. Columbus believed he had reached the edge of Asia. The Taino thought they were meeting visitors from across the sea. They believed they were witnessing an encounter between strangers. History would remember it as the opening of a door that could never be closed. Yet a door alters history only when someone proves it can be reopened. Columbus, upon his return, he was no longer the stubborn dreamer who had pleaded for royal trust. He was the admiral who had crossed the Western Ocean and returned alive. News of the voyage spread swiftly, and the route suddenly seemed replicable. This mattered more than any single discovery. An accidental landing could become legend. Columbus spoke of islands, people, gold, and possibilities. The court envisioned territory, trade, conversion, and expansion. His victory brought honor, but also created demands that no celebration could satisfy. Years spent fighting for the chance to prove himself were now met with the necessity of making reality. Fulfill the promises. Columbus had survived the ocean, yet next he had to endure his victory. Victory had opened the door, but it also compelled Columbus to step through it, carrying more than just hope. When he returned across the Atlantic, the ships bore settlers, animals, tools, weapons, and plans for permanent occupation. Exploration, yet the world he had described to the Spanish court did not easily align with their expectations. Gold was elusive, supplies dwindled, and rivalries intensified. Relations with indigenous communities soured as the pressure for labor, tribute, and control escalated. Columbus had dreamed of wealth, glory, and lasting recognition. Instead, the lands he fought to reach became sites of conflict, disappointment. His courage had served him well at sea, but governing demanded different skills: patience, compromise, trust, and political acumen. Qualities harder to command as he drifted further from the ocean. Losing control, he had arrived at the world he desired, only to, as Columbus's hold weakened, complaints crossed the Atlantic before he did. Reports of chaos, harsh punishments, and broken promises reached the Spanish court, prompting the dispatch of Francisco de Bobadilla to investigate Hispaniola. By 1500, Columbus and his brothers were arrested. The man who had once returned to Spain, surrounded by 8 years earlier, the ocean had borne him home as a hero. Now, it returned him in disgrace. Columbus believed this treatment was unjust, and the loss of authority cut deeply, though later released and returning to the sea. He never regained his former status as governor. The chains did not erase his bravery or his voice. Reaching an unknown world required vision. Yet controlling what followed demanded powers Columbus never truly possessed. Even after losing titles and authority, the route he opened remained uncontested. More ships came, ferrying settlers, soldiers, missionaries, traders, animals, crops, languages, beliefs, and disease. Some exchanges transformed diets and trade across continents. Others brought conquest, forced labor, and devastating population loss to indigenous communities. Columbus did not command everything that ensued, nor could he fathom its full magnitude. He was neither a flawless hero nor a singular villain. He was a courageous, ambitious, stubborn man shaped by faith, limited not. Those traits propelled him across an ocean others feared to cross. Yet they also unleashed forces far larger than his intentions. Columbus spent much of his life believing he had reached Asia. History remembers him for discovering something else entirely. He crossed an ocean with the wrong distance, reached a world he did not fully understand, returned a hero, and later came home in chains. More ships followed. Empires expanded. Crops, animals, beliefs, and diseases intertwined between worlds long divided. Columbus lost his authority and control over the colonies he helped establish. He could never dictate what history would make of his legacy. 5 centuries later, the debate endures. Was he a visionary who dared to cross an unknown ocean? A conqueror whose ambition bred suffering? Or simply a flawed man